Hello and welcome to Matthew Reads, I guess. Today I am in fact talking about Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar. Now, this is one of those books that, I bought it ages ago and it has been sat on my shelf for, it wouldn't surprise me if it was like a year or so, but it was just one of those, I have no idea how and when I got it, why I got it, but I've just had it for ages and just never read it for whatever reason. But the blurb says that Felix Love has never been in love, and yes, he's painfully aware of the irony. He desperately wants to know what it's like and why it seems so easy for everyone but him to find someone. And what's worse, even though he's proud of his identity, Felix also secretly fears he's one marginalisation too many, black, queer and transgender, to ever get his own happily ever after. When an anonymous student begins sending him transphobic messages after publicly posting his dead name alongside images of him before he transitioned, he comes up with a plan for revenge, but what he didn't count on was that his catfish scenario landing him in a quasi-love triangle. But as he navigates his complicated feelings, Felix begins a journey of questioning and self-discovery that helps redefine his most important relationship, how he feels about himself. So, in the first chapter, we follow Felix and his bestie Ezra, that doesn't sound quite right, but it's to this fashion shoot in Manhattan. And I'll just say something which is similar to what I said in my Fair Brady video. It kills me when people mention specific things about places or things that I don't know anything about. For that video, it was about theatre and musicals. And then in this one, it's New York City. The author of this book was just mentioning places in New York where Felix was travelling. And I was fully just that meme of what the hell, sure, because, girl, I don't know shit about New York City. Anyway, the first chapter has the besties pull up to this fashion shoot that they're doing over this summer program, and then they get into an argument with the director Declan because Felix hates him, and then Felix storms off when Declan is basically all but transphobic to Felix, and honestly, rightly so, Felix. But then Felix and Ezra go to the program again, and someone, like the blurb mentioned, got into Felix's archived posts all on Instagram and all his pre-transition stuff, and they don't out Felix as trans because Felix has never tried to hide his transness, but obviously they post all of his pre-transition stuff, including his dead name. So it's what is wild to me, the sheer idea of even thinking about doing something as horrible as that is absolutely insane to me. Why is that something that would ever even cross your mind? Genuinely, unless they murdered your entire family or something and ruined your life, why would you even consider doing something like that? Unless they murdered your entire family in front of you, but bitch, murder them back. Now, something I will admit in this video is that, I also feel quite bad about admitting this, is, I fully considered dropping this book. I haven't DNF'd a book since I was in university and, physically could not stand reading some of the books that I had to there. But, there was something about the opening of this book that, it really did not grip me, and it wasn't until about, 90 pages in chapter 7. I'm not gonna spoil what happens because it's kinda mage, but I thought to myself, okay, wig divas, let's go, boots the house down, we're on Serve Central now. And having obviously read the book now, the best way I can describe this book is I feel the cover encapsulates this book perfectly, flowers. That the book starts off with just the buds and they slowly open up as the book goes on. It definitely took a while for this book to hook me, and the actual specific event that got me into it was when Felix and Declan started to interact properly, and I mean more so than they did in the sense of just blindly hating each other in the first 90 pages. But a full tea in those first 90 pages, I did not care for either Felix or Declan. I definitely empathized with, or I don't know whether it's empathized or sympathized with Felix in the position that he was. No, I think it's empathized. But even though I empathized him and felt sorry for him because what he went through was horrible, I still didn't like him because he didn't come across as that likable initially to me. And like, that is simply because he was acting like a dick. It was the case of like, I kind of wanted to tell both Declan and Felix to just get out of their own arses, and then I'd start liking them better. And then shockingly, once they did start getting out of their own arses, I did like them better. But I mean, reading this book, it fully felt like watching a classic coming-of-age movie. Like, you know, something like Perks of a Wallflower. Like, I know I've read the book, and I'm certain I also watched the movie at some point. Like, it's just the case of, you know, how you'll read something and then you'll just have this certain feeling to it, like you could see it on screen. I could see this book on screen. Like, I've mentioned this for other books that I've read, and like, while some books feel like limited series, others feel like movies, and this book definitely felt like a movie. Anyway, like I mentioned before, like, wasn't a fan of Felix in the first part of the book, and yeah, that was entirely down to like how I was seeing him act. Like, you see him act in the way that other characters see him act in the book, if that makes sense. Like, the ones who don't know him all of that well get to see, but it was like when I got to learn more about him, more about his journey with his gender, that like really got to me. And like, I will fully attest to like the fact that even though I love to read, it's rare for me to have like a full-on actual reaction to something I'm gonna read like in a book, but like I did in this book. Like, I might just have to read directly from my notes from this. Like, it came at a point where Felix is like questioning his identity. He knows that he's trans and that he's not a girl, but at the same time, it feels like there are times where he is a man and then also times where he's not. And there's a passage in the book that like, so I think I read this book mostly on trains. Like, there was a moment where I just like stopped and took a photo of the page, and I think that was like the first time I've ever done that, because I read it and I was like, holy shit, that is exactly how I feel, but like I've never been able to like verbalize it. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh, like orangutan finger, that is exactly what's going on in my brain. And I did also really appreciate that, like, while I've mentioned that this book does feel like a movie, like, it still gave time to so many of the side characters, like Felix's bestie Ezristy, like, so he was there through just about everything. And there were a few other characters like Declan that I mentioned, and then there was also like Leah and Marisol. They're the ones that I can like remember off the top of my head that were like more present throughout the book. And like the majority, not even the majority, they all like had an arc throughout the book of like how they related to Declan, to Felix. Like, to give a quick example, like Leah and Felix, they slowly became friends throughout the book after the two of them had sort of just like floated around in the same social circle. Like, they were properly getting to know each other and properly became friends. And then Marisol and Felix, they used to date, so like the book covers the aftermath of what happened between the two of them. This book definitely was Gag Boots, The House Down Diva, Yes God, Charlie XCX vibes, for me at least. Like, when I was struggling with reading the first like section of it, the first 90 pages, I will say good on me for like honestly sticking with the book, because while I was in that initial section, I did pop over to Goodreads, and like Goodreads did say it had like a 4.2 or a 4.3 stars, so I took that to mean, oh, it must be like a good book or it must get better. And like, after those first 90 pages, which once again I will admit were kind of difficult to get through, like once I got through those first 90 pages, it just kept like going upstream, up by the Saturdays. I'm very glad that I stuck with it, because it was honestly really good. Have I added it to my favourites tag list on Goodreads? No, but that is just down to those first 90 pages. Like, I couldn't in good conscience like put it there when there was just like a whole entire chunk of the book, especially at the beginning, that I just didn't enjoy. But yeah, that is in fact where I'm gonna leave this video. Shout out to the lighting change on my face. Let me know, have you read Felix Ever After? Are you gonna read Felix Ever After? If you have read it, let me know what you thought, and okay, bye.